we're at the right amount for inventory right now. And some of the new inventory in as of late is the 1969 Jaguar XKE 2+2 Coupe. Now, of course, in the pecking order of Jaguar XKEs or E-types, the convertible would be first and then the 2+2 would be second. However, this thing, multiple Concours winner, Jaguar Club honors, numbers matching drivetrain, the Heritage Trust Certificate telling you what it came with when it came from the factory, and a near flawless restoration. This thing, somebody spent, I don't know, but it's garnered first place awards at Greenwich, Meadowbrook, Radnor, and then, the Jaguar Club aforementioned, and of course, having all the detailed records and receipts. It's so important. I'm going to harp on this until the day I die. Save every piece of paper that comes with every car you buy, whether it's a brand new car. I don't care if it's a Kano box, Yugo. Do they make Yugo anymore? No.
They don't make it, but if you save the papers from it, they might be worth
something valuable. But save everything. Yeah. Every little dealer delivery thing, everything you get. And then when you buy a car from somebody or you buy it at an auction, make sure you save the sticker that they put in the window that has all the description of the car, because that stuff can get lost.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden, you literally have guys who will come in here and say, I don't know what size my engine is in my car. And it's not because they're stupid or they're not, or we're not going to say, oh, you're not a car guy, you don't know what you're talking about. No, they don't know because they don't know. Is it a 327 or a 350 or a 383 stroker? Have they done something? I mean, you don't know what's been done to it. And if you don't have any kind of paper trail or any kind of records of it, makes it very difficult to sell.
Yeah, it's more often that they don't have the paperwork or information.
Absolutely.
Or maybe they just picked it up from a neighbor or an uncle or something like that.
Or an estate. And the stuff that's important is in the attic and nobody knows it. Nobody's bothering to look. Right. And, that's their thing, and that's okay. Finishing up on that 69 XKE Jaguar, I mean, this thing is really, they probably spent more than it's worth on restoring it. And you see that a lot with cars, where a guy just restores it because he wants to have the best in the world, or because he wants to recreate something that he didn't have, or that they used to have in their childhood, or that they didn't have and always wanted. And so, if you do it for the love of it, then go for it.
I think that was the case here. He wanted to have the best in the world, or in the country at least, and it's pretty darn close. Every nut and bolt was taken off this car and polished. And
think about the effort.
Yeah,
think of how many parts.
10, 11 years.
Yeah, think of how many parts are on any particular car.
Yeah.
Other new inventory besides the Jaguar, which you've talked about for a whole segment almost,
we did.
is this will be up your alley.
Thank you.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything different. 2004 BMW Z4 3.0i Roadster, titanium silver metallic over black. It's got a peppy 3.0 liter inline six. Did you write that, peppy? Is that your peppy?
Probably.
Pepe.
Maybe.
Desirable 6-speed manual.
Yes.
Plush leather seating. Sporting and economical. Very well-kept car, though. These are a lot of fun to drive, as you attest to.
And you, too. You had one as well, right?
I had one. Yeah, I did. I didn't have it very long. But
they're a lot of fun and sporty, and they're not super high horsepower. Like I think the 3.0 puts out 170, something like that.
But they feel fast.
But it feels fast because you're on a roller skate.
Yeah, you're on a small car
like
with
a Miata.
Very low center of gravity.
Yeah.
And they are a blast to drive. The Miata is a perfect example of low horsepower, but still a lot of fun to drive. It's just one of those cars that it's even car guys, guys who have Ferraris and stuff get out of a Miata and go, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Just why they've been in production since 1990, 89, 90?
89, 90, 91,
somewhere in there.
Somewhere in the
still going.
The general vicinity.
We had a Miata club here the other day.
We did. They were looking heavily at that Miata that we have
here.
The
V8?
The yellow V8, which is listen, more is not always more. Like for, you know what I mean? The Miata V8 is not for everybody.
That's right.
It's for somebody who wants to be the king of the hill. But most people are satisfied with the performance of the Miata because very reliable. Not that a V8 is not reliable, but the inline six is very reliable, very fuel efficient. And, that's important when gas is $4 a gallon. I don't care if it's your toy or not.
Right.
You get something that gets 6 miles to the gallon. That's painful.
Not all that fun. But, this is also rear-wheel drive, so it's a true roadster, and they're just a blast on the country road or, wide open road. It's really great, really good highway car as well.
And BMWs are very reliable cars as far as mechanically. There are things that can go wrong on them. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There are electrical,
a lot of plastic
that gets problematic. It's like some of my Mercedes have the sticky buttons that they're that rubber that just starts deteriorating, and you touch it, and it's like, oh my god, it's like touching a piece of gum.
Yeah.
But if you get a chance, check out the BMW. A fantastic car and a great daily driver that we have here, and it's not the only one we have here. We have another BMW. We just a 440, I think we took in just not too long ago as well. Other new inventory, the 1966, we just talked about it a little while ago, Chevrolet Corvette Convertible, Nassau blue over bright blue. Fully known history from new, which is really cool if you think about it. I mean, that car is, what is that, 50?
Don't 60, go there. Don't 50? Go there.
Oh, God.
That would be 60 years. That would be 59, 58 years.
Yeah, too shy of 60. I was alive during this time, so it tells you that I'm old. Impeccable restoration on this car. Numbers matching 327, 350 horse L79 V8, and then the numbers matching M20 Muncie. And it's got both tops. And what does that mean, you say? We say things like that, and then we just assume everybody knows what we're talking about. Both tops means that back in the 60s, and maybe and into the 70s as well, too, on certain cars, Corvettes in particular, you could get both a soft top and a hard top. You didn't have to get the hard top. It was an option. But then you have basically three different cars. You have a coupe, you have a convertible, and then you have a soft top. So you've got three different ways that the car works. The nice thing about the soft top is you're driving along and you come into inclement weather, then you've got something to put back up. If you've left the hard top at home, which you have to do. You can't, really, unless you have a trailer you're carrying around behind you. You're not going to do that. But what you need with the hard top is the pulley system like that. For the Mercedes SLs had those back in the day, where it would just pull into your garage, and then you'd attach the pulley to 4 points on the thing, and you'd run it up the flagpole and tie it off and pray that it didn't come down.
And they're fiberglass, so they're pretty light. I remember I picked one up for buyers here. They bought a Corvette, and the hardtop was stored in a barn in Chester County. Just quintessential, car guy stuff. And I couldn't find anybody here to help me, so I hoisted that.
You mean our team players weren't jumping right on it?
And it fit into my lightning bed perfectly.
Well, there you go.
And I carried it myself in. But so they're pretty light.
Talking about new inventory here, and we haven't gotten through it, so I'll move a little faster on through it. How about the 1932 Ford Roadster? Patina black over black. And when you say patina, we mean it's created patina. It is not, the car is just getting worn because of its age. It's designed to look patinaed. And patinaed means just like a nice worn leather couch where it's got a few cracks and crevices and creases in it.
Yeah.
Very comfortable to sit in, not torn up, not holes in it or anything like that. Just has a nice glow to it, if you will.
Yeah, this is like a racer, so the numbers are faded, the text is faded. It's kind of cool.
Like it would have been back in the day.
Yeah.
And this one is a Brookville frame with a Dearborn Deuce body, which is, these things are, that's the top of the line when it comes to...
I learned that. I had no idea.
Comes to doing... Well, you're not a hot rod guy,
No,
right? I'm not really either. I'm learning more about them as we go. Certainly do that. This one's got the 255 cubic inch flathead V8, a very solid motor that just lasts forever. And surprisingly, the Tremec 5-speed manual transmission. Most of these have an automatic transmission in them. Because the way you have a steering column coming down between your legs, you basically have to put your foot on either. You have to make a choice. And you have to have your foot either side of the steering wheel. And you can't really brake with your right foot if the brake is on the other side of the steering column. So it can be kind of tricky sometimes. And so that's why a lot of times these things are automatic, because just from a logistical standpoint, it's very difficult to get your feet down there. So a Winner's quick change rear end, which is interesting. You can change the gear ratio in these rear ends. You can pop out whatever the gears are in there and put some, and I'm getting a little outside my level of expertise here, but apparently you can change the gearing on these things. So if you wanted more of a top speed or more of a low end torque, or somewhere in between, you can do that. The problem with a lot of these old cars from back in the day is they need that one extra gear. You get a lot of these Model A, or a lot of Model A's from the era and pre-war type, 30s cars had what was it? I think it's Columbia 2-speed rear end added to them, so they would get a little bit more higher end, and they weren't struggling so hard. Because if you get like a '69 Z28 with 4-speed manual transmission, You get into fourth gear and it's got 411 gears. You know, at 60 miles an hour, you sound like the thing's going to blow up.
Right. Really whining, yeah.
Really, really whining out. You could use that one extra gear.
There's a lot of interest. It's interesting how many cars actually came with two-speed transmissions, automatic transmissions.
Yeah, Power Glide. Yeah. And so adding the second speed in the rear end certainly gave you a little bit more breathing room.
How about this 2019 Ford Mustang? Are you
keeping me on track now?
Getting back to cars.
The 2019 Ford Mustang Shelby GT 350. Ford Performance Blue over Ebony, 8,300 actual miles, 526 horsepower, 5.2 liter Voodoo V8. One of 2,789 built. Another Tremec manual transmission. This thing is really cool. It's got a flat plane 5.2 liter Voodoo V8 with electronic fuel injection. This thing will scream, and it's got a sound to it like no other.
Yep, that's flat crank. Yep, yeah, sounds great.
I don't really understand the architecture of that, but there's something in the way that the engine is designed different than what a normal 350 V8 would have been back in the day. It's got a different architecture to it, and it sounds completely different.
That's right.
But do flat plane cranks in a Corvette and a Mustang sound the same? Or are they got their own distinct sound? We don't know that.
I don't know. Podcast at classicautomotive.com.
No, let's check it out one of these days.
Yeah, we should.
Do
that's
that.
a good idea.
8,300 miles though on this thing, and it's now 5 years. Hard to believe that 2019 is 5 years
I know,
old.
it's weird. It is weird.
It's like 1980. Wasn't that 20 years ago?
I know.
No, it wasn't.
Well, a lot of these are not daily drivers. Obviously, they're put away. They were low mileage and
rare and desirable.
Yeah, it's so great.
I mean, 2,700 built is a lot. But in the scheme of the world, it's not a lot.
No.
That's not a whole lot of cars. And attrition happens to any type of car, whether it's a Shelby Mustang from the 2019s or from the 50s or the 60s. You have fires, you have floods, you have tornadoes, you have hurricanes, you have accidents.
You burn out when you're leaving Cars and Coffee. It's about 1 million videos of Mustangs doing that.
Why can I not stop watching that when that comes up? Even though I feel so bad
Corvettes.
for the guy. I feel bad
I
for
feel
the guy.
bad for them too.
I do. It's like, first of all, you've embarrassed the crap out of yourself.
Right.
A,
you didn't have to press on the gas.
Yeah, and B, you have destroyed your car. And you see it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's thousands of videos of these guys doing that. And you wonder, like my son was telling me that there are guys on YouTube that crash cars like that on purpose because it increases their viewership, and what they get paid to do that compensates for the price of the car.
That is
so you say you go spend $100,000 on a car, but they crash it on YouTube and they get paid $200,000 for doing that. So why wouldn't you?
I don't know.
I mean, I couldn't do that.
Yeah,
I couldn't knowingly tear up a good piece of machinery.
I don't need views that bad that I'm wrecking a car, but
if we could wreck a little Miata or something, and it was only like $8,000 or $9,000, then we could get back 20.
Yeah, let's do the math.
It's like an investment that we're making. So, but these Mustang Shelby GT 350s are probably as collectible as anything from Mustang wise from this era. I think that you'll see the value of that, and with a 6-speed manual transmission and 373 gears, probably fun to drive and probably will cruise. I mean, it'll go fast and go from point A to point B really quickly and handle, but it'll also just cruise down the highway. You could drive it to Florida probably, and it wouldn't be a big deal. And last but not least, the 1969 Don Long Dragster that we have here, yellow and multicolor over black, documented history, NHRA record holder, 400 cubic inch nitro methane gulping Hemi V8. The restoration is like amazing.
It's perfect. Yeah.
They took it exactly back to what it was before. They did not.
When new,
which was 1969. And this has got this car itself has been to Washington D.C. to the White House.
Yeah, that's right.
Did Nixon drive it?
President Nixon did not drive it. He touched it. The roll bar on there, the roll cage. He actually had his hand on.
We're going to do a video of me trying to get in and out of this.
Oh
thing
yeah,
because
that's right.
It is. The rear end is right there where you sit. I mean, it's literally between
under your knees, right?
Yeah, between your legs, under your knees, and you kind of. I mean, I'm still not quite sure how I'm going to get in, and even more importantly, how I'm going to get out.
Yeah, we'll bring you lunch. We'll bring you lunch.
Or a little crane. You can have.
But there's Randy posted some video of this thing running at a tribute show or
Cackle Fest.
I don't know, but it's just crazy.
Well, doesn't it have like 3? I don't know, something crazy horsepower.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere, I'll be wrong about this, so why don't we just look it up and see. It's 1,290 pounds. It's got a 400 cubic inch Chrysler Hemi with a GMC 671 supercharger. It ran 663 at Atco and 653 at Dallas. But what's the engine? I mean, what's the horsepower?
It might be in there somewhere.
I thought it was. Was it 1,000?
Yeah, something like it's more than 1,000. I remember that.
I remember it somewhere in here. It's hard to scroll and look for something.
Yeah, classicautomall.com. You can see it on the website with lots of photographs. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But it's I think it's a museum piece. It's not something you want to race because it's a front engine. So I'm not even sure you're allowed to.
I don't think you're. I mean, you may be allowed to do those in vintage stuff, but maybe not even those. I would imagine, because Don Garlett's the famous drag racer who lives down in Ocala, Florida now. Was the one who almost got it. We talked about this last week. Got his legs blown off, and decided that they should design these things to put the engine behind the driver.
Smart.
So smart. I mean, obvious things are so obvious sometimes until they are or they aren't. So. And
we have a beautiful, a lot of good stuff that'll be on the website later today. But a big truck that came in, 4400 Chevrolet 4400. Which, who knew they even existed? Right. And I learned all about them.
Yeah, they're heavy duty trucks that you didn't think that they were making back in the 60s, but they were. They just weren't.
The 39. The 39. Yeah.
And you think about from that era, they didn't advertise. Nowadays big trucks you see all the time. You see them advertised, but back then, if you weren't in the market for one of those, you probably didn't know anything about them.
Right. And if you were, you already knew about them.
You knew everything about them.
Yeah, it's sort of an inside underground world of big trucks, really.
Yeah, I think so. And of course, they were all over. They were delivery trucks. They were construction trucks. Yeah. They were all different things that they utilized those things
sorry, it was a 1949 Chevy.
It was a 49,
4400.
4400. What a great truck, though.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And to restore something like that.
Well, the story is great. It was the consignor's great-grandfather bought it new.
Wow.
He sold it. The father of the consignor tracked it down years later and spent 10 years restoring it to as new condition. So
would that be called a labor of love?
That's a great story. I want to buy it just based on the story because there's a known history. To talk about known history.
Right.
They had it as new.
How would that go over with the wife? I wanted to buy it because it was so nostalgic, honey.
I had to have it. It's reasonable, too.
It is,
by the way.
This has been the Classic Auto Mall Show with your host, Stewart Howden.